I just had this really interesting lesson today, and I wanted to share it with you because I think there is a lot of valuable information that I'm not finding in the common talks on the internet. I'm working with a really nice warm blood gelding. He's aged 8 and he's been training with me almost a year on and off. He has some behavioral issues that we've been trying to solve. And I think today we found a key to explain some of the things that he's been showing and some of the reasons why he's not age appropriately trained, or, people have this tendency to like to, if they're at this age, they have to be able to do these things. And I completely disagree with that. So what we discussed was that he's currently out with a 2-year-old. It's just those two. And he's beginning to show a lot of playful young horse behavior. So he's basically acting a lot below his age and a lot more like a young, playful 3-4-year-old horse would. And so I asked, how was he brought up? And he was actually gelded very early, so when he was 1 year old, and he was with family, with other mares, but he wasn't turned out with other boys. And sometimes what happens when we keep the young horses, especially the young boys, in an only mare herd, is that they miss someone to play with. So they miss what they would actually have in nature, which would be like a group of other boys from around the age of 2 to 7 or 8, which is that age span where they usually just run in little family bands of other horses same age that have been thrown out from home to go out and grow some chest hair. And it's usually only at the age of 7 or 8 that the mares start taking them seriously. So around that age, they will go and they will find their own mares and make their own little family. But until then, they're actually just hanging out with other young stallions. So this means it's like a group of 2-year-olds to 7, 8-year-olds, maybe older as well. But in this age span, they learn to socialize, they learn to play, they learn to be horses around other horses. And it's really important for all the boys to socialize. I mean, they don't play the same way with grown-up mares as they do with same age and a bit older stallions. So if you see a group of young stallions playing together, it might be rough, it might look a little rough, but they're just boys and it's normal behavior for them. So this gelding in question has never experienced this, and he's actually only now having the time to go through some of the stages that he should have gone through maybe 6 years ago. And so when we look at him training wise and we feel that he's much more like working with a young horse, it might be because he's currently going through some of the stages that he needed to go through, so he would mature enough to be able to handle a training that you would expect from an 8-year-old. So I never expect anything based on age. But if he had been out with a group of boys since he was little, if he had been in like this family band, this group of friends, and there would have been some older geldings that would put him in place, then he would have a completely different sense of self, and he would be much more ready and much more matured in himself to figure out how to meet our expectancies. So we have to look at him physically. He's actually needing a bit of strength. He's needing some balance. He's needing some of the things that also come from playing with the other boys. So when you look at 2, 3, 4-year-olds, even with the older geldings, they play rough. They play and they fight and they run and they buck and they jump and they kick, and it looks like, oh my God, an injury is going to happen. But it doesn't. They're just boys being boys, and then they find out how to handle themselves. And this, for me, is some of the most important steps in the upbringing of a horse, because not only is he maturing mentally, but he's also maturing physically. So he learns to balance himself. They rear up, they jump, they do things that any amount of training I would give them at the same age, I could never be as good at. So now I'm looking at this gelding who's a bit off balance, needing a bit of physical strength, needing a bit of sense of self, both mentally and physically. So we have to help him with that, but we also have to respect the fact that maybe mentally he's right now going through some development that should have taken place a long time ago, but it's happening right now. So right now we just have to look at, but how much can he handle? How much for him is still fun? And if there's a limit, we have to stop before we reach the limit. And so this whole thought about how they grew up, how are they weaned, and when are they weaned, that's also really important. But it's actually not just because I don't like to hear 6-month-old babies cry for their mothers and vice versa. I just feel it is so unnatural when I see the natural weaning process that is completely different. So the mares will allow their foals. So I do wean the stallion foals for obvious reasons because my mares live in a herd, but I don't take them away before the mothers start sending them away around 10, 11 months. But then when I look at the fillies that they have, that they allow near them, so they become older sisters for the next foals. And it's so easy to see that it is a family and they are together and they do rely on their mothers until they're at least 1.5 years, even 2 years old. And still you see the family bond after that. And for me, it's really, really important that if you don't know how your horse was brought up, if you don't know how he was weaned, if you don't know what has happened before you got him, then give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's needing some friends. Maybe he's needing to go through some mental stages that he should have gone through. Maybe not, but at least for me, knowing that this gelding has never been turned out properly, I said, let him play, let him have fun, let him grow. We don't have a deadline on anything. So maybe this is useful for you as well. If it was, put a comment below. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.